I'd like to take a few minutes and walk you through the steps that are necessary for the care, maintenance, cleaning, and storage of your cutting and setting dies for either your crimp buttons, your snap together buttons, or the grommets. They're all going to follow the same steps. Now when you first get your cutter and your setter, it's going to come in a box with a plastic wrap around it. You do want to save this box, so open it very carefully. And you'll notice that it comes wrapped in this paper, kind of a plasticky feel paper. That's so that it's going to protect the pieces from moisture or any kind of damage during shipping. And what you want to do is you want to clean these very well before you use them. So I've just opened up a button setter. I've got a grommet setter already opened, a grommet cutter, and then I'll go ahead and open up the button cutter too. So the first step you want to do every time you get these out of storage, you want to clean them. Now they come wrapped in the oil, like I said, to protect them, and you certainly don't want to take it fresh out of the box, put it in your machine and start cutting because you'll get that oil all over your fabric. So very easy to do this. Simply unwrap, go ahead and take some paper towel, and you're just wiping the edges off. Now this one I've started to clean already, and what I'm doing is just giving it a light rub so that I can take the grease off both the outside and the inside. This one is a grommet setter, so it's not very sharp, but it does have a little bit of a rim right here, so you want to be careful of that. And I'm just going to take my nail and follow right on the inside of the outer rim. You can see I'm getting a bunch of grease off that. And then very carefully too, you want to clean the inside area. Now this would be usable right now. The grease is off it. But if you wanted to go one step further, you could use isopropyl alcohol. This is 91% alcohol. I'm going to start a new towel here. And what this is going to do is cut through any of the final grease that might be on the cutter or the setter. And it kind of dissipates with the air, so you don't have to worry about rinsing or anything. But I thought I had it clean before. I really didn't. So it's really, I would say, a really good step to just take that few extra minutes and use the rubbing alcohol on your cutters and setters. So that one's ready to go. I can go back to the top part. Notice there's some grease on it. Just wipe that off. And the point that's probably going to give you the worst is the screw area where it goes into the machine. It can store a lot of grease. So take your time with this area, and what I'm doing is I'm turning it so that I'm working my way up those threads to get that grease out of there, and then again just hitting it real quick with that isopropyl alcohol. And you can find that alcohol at any drugstore or pharmacy. Cleaning these. Now there's no sharp points on this, but there is a small groove in here, so I want to get my nail in there and clean that out really well. So now that setter, both of those pieces are ready to go. And we have the cutter to deal with. Now the cutter, I literally just took it out of this package. This is what it came wrapped in. You want to save this. So I'm just going to tuck it out of the way for right now. This cutter is extremely sharp around this edge. So when you're cleaning this, not only do you want to place it on chipboard so that you're not damaging your table or potentially dropping this on a hard surface, but you probably want to use 2 or 3 cleaning surfaces. So I'm going to clean it here. I'm going to sit it down and then give it a good once over so that my hand is not actually on that sharp surface. And then I can go ahead, pick it up, and clean out the inside. Notice that I've put a lot of paper towel between me and that sharp edge. Just cleaning the grease out. And then I do definitely want to get this one nice and clean, so that alcohol. You can use paper towels to clean these. You could use scraps of lining, pretty much whatever you have laying around. And again, see, I thought I had it nice and clean, and I really didn't. I'm going to go around the outside one more time. And I'm not really pushing down on this cutter. I don't want to cut into that chipboard. I just don't want to have it by my hand. So now that would be nice and clean and ready to go. And you want to do that with all your cutters and setters. When you get to your button setters, you're not going to have very much grease on it, but definitely give it a once over so that it's nice and clean. And let's say we've gone ahead and we've cut our holes and we've set our grommets, set our buttons. Now it's time to store it again. The number one question I get asked is, do I have to keep that original packing material? And I would say yes, because you want to not only re-grease each one of these pieces before you store it, but what better way to do that than to use the material that came with it originally. So, protecting your table. What I'm going to do is take a shortcut step, and I have just a scrap of lining here. I'm going to put some machine oil. Everybody has machine oil in their workroom. Just a couple drops of that on the end. And what I want to do is very, very carefully put a light coat of that oil on the outside and a light coat on the inside. That's going to protect this from any moisture, from any type of damage that might be to it while I'm storing it, but also it's going to make sure it's not going to rust. Once I get that greased up again, I could have just used this paper and very carefully wrapped that back up. This is ready to go back in the box. And then of course when I use it again, I have to take it out of that box and clean it off and then use it and clean it to put it back in for storage. So this piece, I don't have the paperwork. What am I going to do? Well, I can either borrow from another one or I could store it in a piece of lining. So again, I've got a little bit of machine oil. Make sure this has a light coating of oil on it. Same top and bottom. And I can go ahead and I can store these. Now I don't want to put this together for storage. That might nick that surface. So I want to have a layer between the two pieces. It's already nice and greased. I can wrap that up, put it back in the original box, and I'm good to go. Now, I didn't get that quite in there how it came out, of course. But the nice thing about keeping these boxes, if you unwrapped it and you inadvertently took the plastic off it where it tells you what size it is and what die it is, whether it's a cutter or setter for button or for grommet, the nice thing is we've thought of that, and somewhere on your box should be that information. So you don't necessarily have to keep the outward layer, but definitely keep this inside greased paper and keep the outside box. That way when you put this on your shelf, it's going to be very easy and very quick just to follow along all your cutters and setter to find the right size.